Hello, my name's Ian Austin, and I'm a podcaster. And I've decided that sometimes I need to defend movies now lots of people don't like. In this case, I'm doing to defend a little movie called Suicide Squad. You're very out sponsored segment, so just get right to it. I like Suicide Squad. I think it's an enjoyable movie. Now, there are some caveats to that, of course. I'm not saying it's an Oscar-worthy movie or that it did win an Oscar. And I'm not saying it's a classic movie, and I'm not saying it's a great movie. In some ways, I'm not even saying it's a good movie, but I am saying it's an entertaining movie. Now, that's bearing in mind the fact that I do agree that the editing is sloppy, the music choices are erratic, although I like most music in the movie, so I don't mind that. Some of the writing's a bit wonky, I guess you can say. The idea of Suicide Squad going up against a generic end of days supervillain who's opening up portal to the sky, agreed, not necessarily most original idea on planet. And the fact that the movie we saw, the primarily version, I haven't seen the extended version, but the primary version is clearly edited by someone who loved what's called Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe a bit too much, as exemplified by the fact that James Gunn is directing Suicide Squad 2, or The Suicide Squad as it's known, which is a sequel, but kind of a soft reboot at the same time, which is sort of material allows. But even with that being said, and even the fact that the Enchantress dances like belly dancer, the fact that Joker is one of the worst versions in the history of cinema and comic books and live action and all of that, and even ignoring the fact that really the movie doesn't make any sense whatsoever, I really enjoy it. And I'm going to tell you why with one simple word: schlock. This movie is B-grade schlock. Now, that's not a criticism. Now, some people that is criticism. For me, it's not a criticism. I love schlock. I love terrible B-movies. I love movies that are so bad they're good, which I wouldn't categorise this as being so bad it's good, although there are a lot of elements which might suggest that. No, I like Suicide Squad because it reminds me of one of those terrible 70s comic book movies you find on TV, like Captain America or Doctor Strange, where it's like the people involved kind of get characters, but at the same time they're adding their own distinct aesthetic onto it. And it's clear that this movie, despite the editing all of that, this is a very David Ayer movie. If you've seen some movies like Training Day, Training Day, the other one's Fury. This is so much like Fury, it's scary. Although I think Fury, if you've seen it, is a movie about a similar situation, similar bunch of characters, but without comic book aesthetic. So it's much more serious. This feels like a compromise between Ayer's aesthetic and what the studio wants. So it's kind of goofy and weird in places. Actually, I want to address that. A lot of people criticise Suicide Squad. They said the mood whiplash, the tone jumping from comedic scenes to serious scenes to weird scenes to bizarre scenes to standard action scenes fit weird. But this is literally a movie about a bunch of characters who should not be in a big budget comic book movie. And that to me is part of the fun of the movie. The fact that after all these Avengers movies where they're being heroes and all of that, and then Justice League movies and Batman movies and Superman movies and all that shit, where they're miserable people and they don't save anyone, we get a movie of a bunch of villains who are patsies for government that is happy if they die. They're accountable. They're not even accountable. They're literally the people you throw out there, and then if it goes wrong, you blame them. And they're thrown into a big budget superhero movie versus a witch who belly dances. That is so strange and so weird, and it doesn't make any sense, but I kind of love it because it's something new. Like, you might not think it's a very good movie, and in lots of ways you're right. But for a genre to evolve, you have to have stuff that tries to do something a little bit different, and this does. I won't say it's equivalent to Big Lebowski, because it's not in any way, shape or form. It's set for partially the idea of, you take these characters who should be the villains in a big budget superhero movie and you make them the main characters, and it creates some more of an interesting dynamic. I think they're let down by the fact that the movie makes no sense structurally. It's clearly been ripped apart and stuffed back together again. It's little bits like the Joker is rewritten to be, and Harley Quinn are rewritten to be actual, like, genuine care about each other love interests, when that's not really how it comes across in comics or in the original bits of shooting they did. But at the same time, that's a new dynamic that hasn't really been explored too much. The idea that the Joker might, in his own way, actually care for Harley Quinn, that's something different. And yeah, it's a bit interesting, it's a new direction. And at the same time, Margot Robbie is fantastic as Harley Quinn. And the fact that they're not going to one extreme. They're not going to the extreme of showing all the abuse but not showing why she'd be with Joker, but they're not going the other extreme, showing them as a complete lovey-dovey couple. There's some shades of grey which might be uncomfortable for some, but if you've read as much comics as I have, sometimes when movies come out you want to see something different to what's in comics, And I think Margot Robbie does an excellent job as Harley Quinn. I'd say same thing for Will Smith's Deadshot. Does a really good job. Jay Courtney's Captain Boomerang. Viola Davis, I think, is Amanda Waller. Does a really good job too. In fact, I'd say acting cross-board is pretty good in this movie. I think Killer Croc, the actor playing Killer Croc, who also played Mr. Echo on Lost, could have done a bit more, had a bit more to do, but I liked the dynamics between characters of Suicide Squad. I think as someone who has read Suicide Squad comics, they kind of got right vibe. I love the bit of Slipknot where it's obviously going to die and think they might subvert it, and they don't. He's the first one taken out, because it's like, that's great. Comic book movies using canon fodder is good. And overall, I mean, the only thing I don't like, and this is a problem for shared universes all round, is the movie's set over 4 days? 4 days where weird shit's going on in the city, end of weird shit, and none of the Justice League get involved. This is set after Batman vs Superman, and okay, Superman's dead. But you tell me Wonder Woman wouldn't get involved in this? I mean, she just agreed to defend humanity again. Right, I know Flash and Aquaman aren't re-recruited to Justice League, but no way Wonder Woman wouldn't go and see what's going on. So I find that questionable. And I think that's probably my biggest flaw with the movie. By going so big, they made it ludicrous that Batman and Wonder Woman wouldn't get involved, It's like this is something they should get involved with. It's like it just is. But then again, I suppose you say DC movies have screwed themselves already, because why wouldn't Wonder Woman get involved in all that crap in, like, Metropolis, Superman and Zod, Like, doesn't make any sense either. You just have to roll with it, because that was a bad choice, Man Still, made by a mediocre director and a mediocre writer who didn't really have a clue what they were doing. Because if you're going to backtrack on shit like that, you have to think ahead. Like, Marvel thought ahead. Nothing Marvel did in any of their movies prior to the Avengers, it was all done such a way that you didn't have to have the other superheroes get involved, because it all happened in isolated places over a short period of time. Whereas that prolonged fight in Metropolis, that you've got 24 hours, heroes would get involved. That's just what they would do. You have to think ahead if you're going to make a shared universe. The trick is not make a shared universe, but there you go. Yeah, so, I mean, Suicide Squad, going back to it. It's kind of weird, because trying to defend it's the wrong word, because I don't think defending it is really what sort of what I'm trying to do, but in other ways it's trying to get people to look at it as what it is rather than what they want it to be. I think people thought after Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman that there'd be like a mega course correction, and there kind of was in Justice League, but I think that wasn't what they should have done. And think while they did course correct on this movie a bit, I think it just about holds together because fundamentally it's about three characters. It's about Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and Amanda Waller. FNF is sort of like on the surface. Rick Flag case bit more important, but it's about those characters, and they get those characters right. So for me, those characters kind of push the movie forward. If you get your main characters right, I can forgive a lot of like bad elements in the movie, and I think I could forgive a fair bit in Suicide Squad. I think those were really perfect versions of characters in terms of taking the aesthetic of comic books and putting them on screen. For Amanda Waller in particular is genuinely terrifying. It's one of those things, I think, when you cast someone who's that good an actress to play that role, they just know what to do. They intrinsically can do a good job in it. And Amanda Waller is such an awesome character in general. And the other part is the fact that if you've read the comic books and watched Suicide Squad, none of the movie should bother you because it's very true in style and themology to comic books. Because especially recent comic books, the Suicide Squad gets sent in deal with weird shit all the time. People who criticise movies and said, why are they dealing with this superhero villain shit and all of that? It's like, that's what they do all the time. Fucking Suicide Squad sent to Apocalypse once to fight Darkseid. Like, they're literally disposable. Amanda Waller does not get justly to get involved because she can't leverage them. She can leverage these criminals, and if they die, it doesn't matter. Like, Batman dies, it's going to be national. Superman dies, it's going to be national news. Although I would point out that this movie continues the theme in DC Universe that I don't like, and eventually I'll recap all the movies. Really don't like is it treats Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. It treats them as if different versions of those movies were made, because I don't understand why anyone would remember Superman. Like, he's one of the worst versions of Superman in both of those movies. And also, I think, well, they did course correct, clearly studio course correct on this movie a fair bit. This is as much schlock as Batman vs Superman was. This just embraces it a lot more. And I think that's the other thing. If you embrace your material, and this one does because it has a killer crocodile in it, so it's embracing the weird a bit more. If you embrace it, it makes it a bit more fun. Like, Batman vs Superman is kind of, for me, so bad it's good because it's so awful. But at the same time, it's kind of unpleasant because they're trying to make something great and they're not. And it's sort of like, with the right team, you could have fixed this, but you really, really screwed up on so many levels. And also the fact that the villain in this movie has a bit more personality, because Zod in Man of Steel, and that's not Michael Shannon's fault, he had nothing to work with. And Doomsday in Batman vs Superman, just nothing characters. I kind of like Lex Luthor in Batman vs Superman, but that's a weird personal quibble. Although I think Eisenberg had played him closer to how he played what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg in Social Network. It would have been a far better movie. So, Suicide Squad. Yeah, I mean, one reason for recapping on this one is there's a lot of faceless horror-style monsters and villains of which, obviously, it is a horror movie in many regards. And that's just the way I like it. I think when you describe the movie as fundamentally American evil government woman tries to get a witch to blow up her brother, her demigod brother, with a bomb, which betrays her, so they have to recruit a team of supervillains who are locked up in a prison in Louisiana to not take up witch, but rescue the evil woman from the city the witch is holding captive. But then team decide eventually deal with the witch, while the Joker tries rescuing his life partner Harley Quinn and causes chaos. That sounds like a movie I'd really enjoy. I'm just going to say it because it's so weird. It's so against the grain, I think you'd say. Because most comic book movies have two main villains in them. This one has so many villains in it. And I do get some critiques, like, why does A. Diablo call them family when they've known each other a few days? why does Katana have nothing to do? Although it does lead to one of the best bad lines in any movie ever. This is Katana. You best not be killed by her. Her sword traps the soul of its victims. That's such an awful line. I love it. And also, I think the other thing is, while movie's not great, I think there's some tremendous groundwork here laid for a future one. And indeed, James Gunn's going to pick up that groundwork and run with it, because these characters can go a fair way. And I think getting James Gunn in for the sequel is going to be quite good, because he's got a very good horror aesthetic to him, so you can follow up on this. But at the same time, a bit more levity. And also, I think making the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he's going to be given a lot more leeway. And DC seems to be going that way, because James Wan's Aquaman is very much a James Wan movie. Daryl Sandberg's Shazam's very much a Daryl Sandberg movie. And Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman is clearly a labour of love for her. So hopefully DC is just going to... And indeed, Todd Phillips' Joker movie. Hopefully DC is just going to let these people run wild for the movies now, because they really should. The best comic book movies are ones directed with a specific vision and ability to compromise with Marvel Studios or DC Entertainment. You need to get directors in trusted enough that they can manage both parts, like Tahir Waki with Thor Ragnarok, because that's an amazingly weird, funny movie. But at the same time, it does feel like a Marvel movie. You're combining both elements of it, which is good. So, Suicide Squad. Very entertaining movie. I think it's schlock, but I think it's entertaining schlock. And really, are you genuinely going to tell me that a movie where an American special ops agent hands a humanoid crocodile a bomb, which a humanoid crocodile throws into a portal behind a witch, as the ex-partner of a killer clown throws a gun to a hitman, a gun which, when he loads the ammunition, goes from hate to love on the sleeve, while the hitman's confronted by his daughter, or a apparition of his daughter telling him not to fire, and the hitman goes, Rah! And then fires anyway at the bomb that witch can't catch, and blows up the portal, that turns the witch into a fit of rage. The witch is then forced down at gunpoint, while the American soldier, Spec Ops guy, has her heart and says, bring my partner back or I'll kill you, which doesn't. So he destroys her heart, and then his partner, June, who witch was possessing, comes back anyway. How are you going to tell me that's not an entertaining movie? Can't do it. So there you go. This is the first episode of It's Not That Bad, and Suicide Squad in Cannes. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If didn't, fine, whatever. I'm sure I'll do another one of these at some point, and at some point I'll do a Suicide Squad commentary. Anyway, until Friday with Paranormal Activity Mark 1, this is Ian Austin for Friday Night Shudder, signing off.